That was a quick 10. Good job, boys. Those guys out there are working and trying to pay attention to 10 things at one time. My name is Joseph Keldevassar here live on August 24th, 2016 with my good friend Ed Sapienza. Hi, Ed.
Hi, Joe.
Last week you wore a red blazer. For me, you wear
Well, it's the
golf
temperature,
shirt.
you know. It's the temperature.
Was it warmer last week than it was this week? Oh, my goodness gracious. I heard you had a red jacket with a hanky in it.
Well, I got a lot of positive input on that red jacket, so I don't,
Good for you, buddy. I was busy.
All
doing
right.
fact stuff.
Fact finding.
We do have a couple of guests tonight. We're going to be talking, obviously, 3 weeks away from a major election primary. Lots to discuss. We have how do you say your last name?
Boehm.
It's that, just Boehm.
Right.
B-H-O.
B-O-E-H-M.
Okay. B-O-E-H-M, like Ohm.
Right.
With a bow.
Right.
With pretty cool.
Right.
So we have you running for Senate.
Right.
District
18.
18, and that's Susie's district. You got a primary, 3 guys. You're a Litchfield person. You've been living in Litchfield your whole life, I assume.
40 years.
40 years, and you're state rep. So we'll talk to you a little bit. We're going to talk. Ed and I are going to talk a little bit later. We are going to talk about the reval. The numbers are out now on the revaluation. Of course, the Gatsis and Sununu race, the governor's race, and other little
Lots,
things
lots.
around the city. I guess there's a book. Was there a book burning club going on over at the school district? I keep reading Connie Van Holten saying that the
Oh, I think I know what you're talking
people
about.
want to they want to ban books. I don't know if anybody has any insight on that. They
Gerard's
can
on top of that.
bring that in. There's
Yeah.
all kinds of wars going on. The school district never disappoints. Of course, all kinds of things to talk about.
Ralph, you're a candidate for state senate. You're a current state rep.
Rep.
Go ahead and tell us about yourself. Tell us about your kids.
You can talk to your little camera over there and say hi. And
Hi, I'm Ralph Boehm, running for state rep, District 18, which is Ward 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and Litchfield. I'm a state rep and a state rep for 10 years. Last 8 years I've been on the House Education Committee, and I've been in different positions on that committee. I'm a retired software engineer. My record for I have a record, which is some of my opponents don't. I have a record. I also have perfect attendance the last 2 terms, last 4 years.
Really?
Yeah, and I have not missed a single vote on a bill.
Wow,
And before that, I was had no less than 95%, because sometimes I've had to do other state business is one of the problems.
Yeah.
But I think anybody with more than 90% is doing a good job.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, we have some
audio.
reps that have never show up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we know a few of them in Manchester.
Right, we have 1 in 5. Luckily, he's not running again.
Who isn't the one?
Rokas,
He did not run again.
he's not running again.
Well, that's good. He didn't.
He never showed up.
Yeah.
Let me cut in there. The audio is awful, so just go ahead and
Okay.
speak
Talk loud,
loudly
which
into
has-
that mic.
Which nobody's accused me of not. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I'm for school choice, parental rights, local control. We got to get rid of the Common Core and get rid of the federal government involvement, and which then comes down to state involvement in our education. The Smarter Balanced Assessment, which is a disaster. We need to test our kids on subjectively, not what the federal government says we're testing on. And shouldn't be teaching the test. We shouldn't be testing kids for weeks at a time. It should be simple testing on what you're supposed to know in the 3rd grade, in the 5th grade, or whatever they test on. And we don't care how you learned it. In other words, the problem with the math testing they're doing now is they're turning math into a subjective subject.
Yeah.
In other words, you have to show the work how you got there rather than just coming up with the right answer. That's not good enough?
No, and we're talking simple arithmetic. We're not talking about your higher math, which you do have to show your work type thing. We're talking about, for example,
We got somebody telling us they can't hear us at all. Is there something we can do, engineer? Should we start over, or what are we going to do?
No, you're just going to have to keep going. There's some kind of issue that's been going on now for about 2 hours that we can't figure out what's going on in here. So
Okay, so there's some crazy noise coming out of a server or something over here, but I don't know if that matters. But so they can hear us, or
they can. it's just it's a very, very weak volume that they can hear it.
All right, well, I'm going to talk right into that son of a gun right there, and we might sound like we're yelling at each other, but we're not.
Okay.
We're just trying to work with what we have.
Right.
So, Ralph, if I said you were a conservative guy, you wouldn't take offense to that.
No, definitely not. Believe in limited government, local control. We have to let the parents control. What their kids should be learning, and so then parents vote for the school board. It's local. We shouldn't have the federal government, especially considering the 10th Amendment says they shouldn't be.
Okay.
It's not in the Constitution anything about education. So. And the 10th Amendment says it's up to the states then. So why is the federal government even involved with it? They should not be. But yeah, and then on other issues, for example, we have a big opioid crisis in the state. The problem is we have to stop the source. 80% of the heroin and fentanyl is coming from Mexico. You don't hear that.
Would you like to see the U.S.-Mexico border secured with a wall, with troops, with whatever?
Well, there's got to be secured. So, we're getting all these drugs coming in that's killing people. People are coming in too, but the drugs are coming in. And that's the major, 80% is coming from Mexico. And even the poppies are growing in Mexico. So we need the federal government to crack down and tell Mexico, stop it. Used to be, that's the problem why heroin is so cheap. It used to be mainly most of it coming from Afghanistan. Now only 20% probably coming from there. It's 80% coming from Mexico, and that's the start. We have to stop it. One of the issues, too, which we keep talking about, I know it brought up on the previous show, about having the doctors limit the prescriptions. No.
If you're suffering, if you're in pain,
Right.
then gosh darn it all, you should be able to get your
Right.
painkillers.
I know people that are going to be on opioid for the rest of their life.
Yeah, there's no way out of it.
No way out of it. And yet the government is trying to tell doctors how much they can prescribe. So what's going to happen to these people? They're going to go get the heroin. It's stupid. I think, having a registry, similar to when I go to the drugstore and I want to buy some Sudafed. I have to show my license so they can see how much I bought. That's the same thing. Yeah, there are people that used to, they can't anymore because of the drug registry. You can't go doctor to doctor to doctor, which was one of the problems. But, but people that are chronic, you can't limit.
No.
And the problem with drugs, they're going to need more and more and more because your body builds up. But they're going to be on drugs for the rest of their life, and no way around it.
Well, I guess that brings me to whether or not you think marijuana should be decriminalized. Should be decriminalized.
Well, decriminalize, for users. Yes, we don't want to put users for any drugs in jail. We want to crack down on the pushers, the dealers. The problem with marijuana, though, is, for example, medical marijuana. One of the problems there, you can't really get the insurance companies aren't going to pay for it, prescriptions, because it's against federal law. The first thing we need to fix the federal law, or
Also the banking, there's banking issues
right.
there.
Oh, right. If we not discriminal, just decriminalizing is different.
Right.
But then making it legal, like in Colorado, they make their own little bank setup, which is illegal.
Well, here in New Hampshire, I think most of us would be happy with decrim. Okay, right now, possession is a misdemeanor offense, right?
Yeah.
Most of us would be happy with baby steps and seeing decrim. Would you favor decrim?
Yeah, and depending on how much you have, right? You can decrim.
Yeah, a half ounce or less or whatever.
Yeah. The
right.
problem is, and I've been talking to, we've had a couple of different drug when people come up and say how they got addicted to heroin and whatnot, and it usually states, well, I started with alcohol, and then I went with marijuana, and then I went with this, and then I went with this. So, is it or is it not a gateway drug? And also Harvard Medical School came up with the thing that, especially for young people, marijuana causes brain damage. And that was Harvard, and we're talking a very liberal.
Well, if Joel LaChance was here, State Rep Joel LaChance, he would tell you that in states that have decrimmed or legalized marijuana, there is less opioid abuse.
I I don't know. Well, the point is, yeah, New Hampshire is ranked very high with the opioid for some reason. But
Well,
you-
there's a perfect example, right? And we,
Right.
yeah.
But no, I mean, you can't compare that because you don't have a big enough. You don't have a big enough.
Maybe it's because we don't have a train.
that bring more up. But
Should we be bringing it? Should we be building a train? I mean, you've been
No.
around a long time.
No.
You knew when there was a train here at some point, right?
right. The thing is, I was on Judd Gregg's when he was governor, Railway Commission, and it was set up. We met for a year. We met at what was then the Nashua Tech School, which is now the community college, and we met with people, MBTA and whatnot, and then it was said, no, it's not economically feasible. All the track from Lowell up would have to be replaced. It is 15-mile-an-hour freight track. So that's, for example, like driving a Corvette on a Class 6 road. It's not going to happen. I mean, you put a fast commuter rail on that track, it's going to go flying off of it. Also, the track would have to have turn-offs every now and then because trains can only go one direction. So if one's coming one way and one's coming the other, they have to have some way of turning off. And that's estimated to be like $300 million.
Initially, 300 million initially.
Now, where's that going to come from? You know. Also, the MBTA, if you check on how they're funded, only 30% of their yearly what they need to run comes from passengers. The rest come from, there are 75 towns east of 495. It's in their property taxes.
Wow.
They're right there. The MBT, you got to collect this much money in your property taxes. And another big portion comes from the state sales tax. Now, can you imagine what would happen? What legislature was going to pass a law that says all these towns are going to have to pay something in their property taxes? It's not going to happen.
Wow.
So and all rail is subsidized. And people bring up the Dover train. That's Amtrak. And we know how much
Federal.
Amtrak. That's
It's
federal.
Amtrak.
Right, and we know how much they're going. But they say that track is maybe 50% the passengers are paying for it. It's more successful than the other. We have a good system now with the Boston Express.
How did you vote on the casino bill?
And casinos, I voted against it because it was monopolies.
Okay.
Okay, we just had a bill saying that any town that votes for it can have it if they want it.
Right. No.
Not saying you can have one or two. That's setting up a monopoly. I mean, it should be like a town saying, the government saying, oh, you can only have one restaurant in your town.
Right.
You know, that's not right. But yeah, maybe that was the big issue with that. If the people voted, like maybe in Hudson or Salem, which was initial ones, to have casino, fine, let them.
Right.
And another town does it, maybe up north, and it goes bankrupt, that's their problem.
Right.
We shouldn't be regulating. The law should have been, okay, if casino's this big, this is what maybe a franchise fee is going to be, and this is what you're going to have to pay in taxes. But you don't say, oh, we're going to have one or two, and it's going to cost you this much. No, that's a monopoly, and that's not right.
So why are you running for the seat? I mean, don't you think Donna Soucy's doing a good job?
No, she's why I'm running.
Yeah.
One of the problems is she's, for some reason, well, I can figure out why, in Manchester, there's 4 charter schools, okay? All the reps, pretty much most of them I know, Democrats and Republican, if there's the charter school bill, they'll vote for it because there's 4 of them. Donna Soucy always votes against charter schools.
You're a proponent of charter schools.
Well, oh, definitely.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. And like I said, there's 4 of them in Manchester, and they're covering all the grades. Founders Academy is the new one, which is on North Perimeter Road, which it goes from middle school, and this year it's middle school and 9th and 10th. Then they'll go 11th and 12th. And they're doing great. And then there's Manchester Community, MC Squared it's called, and they have a percentage of kids that have gone through the court system that are doing very well. And if they went through a regular high school, they'd be lost.
Yeah.
So also, and parental rights. Some bills on saying no school, if a parent says, no, you can't teach this. I mean, she votes against all those. The scholarship bill, where you can deduct, before you pay your business taxes, you can take a portion, you know, just like you, if you give money to charity, you can deduct it from your income tax. She's brought up legislation to do away with that. So, in other words, the whole thing, it's like the government knows what's best, you know. But then I always look at follow the money.
Right.
Right.
And one of the things about the charter schools and all that is how much money is she getting from the NEA, or the NEA spending for her. So I'm sure I'll have attack ads if I win the primary against me from the NEA. But yeah, but that's where it comes down to. She's not representing the people, the constituents.
All right, well, we appreciate you coming on here. Why don't you tell the people of the fine city of Manchester all your wards? Well, first of all, it's wards 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. That's it, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
And Litchfield.
In Litchfield.
Right.
Why don't you tell them how they can contact you, your website, phone number?
Okay, right.
Look right in the camera and let them
Okay.
know.
I have a website, rgbohm4, the number 4, nhsenate.com. You got information there. I also have Facebook. You can look that up. I mean, I'll read it. Ralph G. Bohm for New Hampshire Senate, and it's FOR, and that one for New Hampshire Senate for Facebook, and you can get a hold of me. Contacts there. The email on my Facebook. On my website you can use, and you can get a hold of me. I've been through all the wards in Manchester, knocking on doors, and there's a big difference in wards. I mean, 6 and 8 are very single residential. 9 is most of that. 5 and 7 are a lot of apartments. So the big constituency difference in those wards.
Broad range of
Broad
constituents.
range of this diversity, I'd say, of the
Right.
people in those wards.
Cool. Well, it's very nice having you on here. I'm glad
Thank
you
you.
got a shot to come on and introduce yourself to the good citizens of Manchester, and I'm sure they're watching, and I'm sure they're very interested. You sound like a real conservative guy, and you're very well respected by every conservative I've talked to. You've done a really good job as a state rep.
Well, it's amazing. I have respect of the Democrats also. They know where I'm coming from.
Reach across the aisle.
And reach across the aisle. I had one bill that I actually worked with Kathy Rogers on, who was a very liberal, and she actually got to the Senate when she, on this one bill, it was social media protection, student protection. And when she testified at the Senate, she said, and Ralph Bohm and I don't agree on much. So you gotta work with people.
All right.
All right, so we'll be back in less than 1 minute with another guest, Alexandria Knox, running for state rep in Ward 10. We'll be back in 1 minute. Thank you very much, Mr. Bohm, for coming on. We'll
Thank
be back
you.
in 1 minute. Hopefully the audio's working.